Now, from CBS News Miami, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. School is starting up this week, and on Thursday, Ron DeSantis' education commissioner, Manny Diaz, was supposed to participate in a town hall and talk about the state's new standards for teaching African American history. He had agreed to come at the invitation of State Senator Shevrin Jones. Jones wanted Diaz to address concerns in the black community that the new standards were intended to whitewash history and downplay the evils of slavery, even suggesting that slaves benefited from slavery by learning certain skills. For his part, DeSantis has defended the new standards.
They're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life.
This prompted an angry response from Vice President Kamala Harris.
Adults know what slavery really involved. It involved rape. It involved torture. It involved taking a baby from their mother. How is it that anyone could suggest that in the midst of these atrocities, that there was any benefit to being subjected to this level of dehumanization?
So given this backdrop, you can imagine why some parents are upset and why Jones wanted Diaz to come and address the community directly. According to Jones, Manny Diaz canceled at the last minute, leaving 1,000 people who had gathered at the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church in Miami Gardens feeling disrespected and angry. In a post on X, the site formerly known as Twitter, Diaz wrote, "There was nothing sudden about my inability to attend Senator Jones's town hall. As I told the senator last week, I will be visiting schools throughout the state to welcome back students, parents, and teachers for the first day of school." Now, the event went on without Diaz. I was there Thursday night and spoke to Senator Jones. In a few minutes, I'll play for you that interview. But we need to look at the bigger picture of what is happening here with education. Let's start with something Ron DeSantis has repeatedly said.
We draw a very strong line in Florida. We want education. We do not want indoctrination.
That has been his justification for everything he does. Whether it is blocking advanced placement classes in African American history, removing books from school libraries, or blocking the teaching of sexual orientation and gender studies throughout high school even. He wants education, he says, not indoctrination. Well, that line plays very well on the campaign trail, but is it true? Last week, the DeSantis administration announced it would allow teachers in Florida to use videos from a group called PragerU University. Now, to be clear, PragerU University is not an accredited university or college. It is a right-wing group led by conservative talk show host Dennis Prager. And Dennis Prager fully admits his goal is to push a right-wing agenda into the classroom. Here he is last month speaking to the group Moms for Liberty.
All I heard was, well, because you indoctrinate kids. And which is true. We bring doctrines to children. That's a very fair statement. I said, but what is the bad of our indoctrination?
So does this mean DeSantis is okay with some indoctrination, as long as it is the type of indoctrination he supports and agrees with? I want to play for you some of the videos created by PragerU that DeSantis says are appropriate to use in the classroom. The videos follow a brother and sister, Layla and Leo, who travel through time to meet historic figures. Here, the two children meet Christopher Columbus, who ask him about slavery.
Some things are clearly bad, no matter when they happen. But for other things, before you judge, you must ask yourself, what did the culture and society at the time treat as no big deal?
But wait, there's more. He continues his defense of slavery this way.
Slavery is as old as time and has taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? I don't see the problem.
In another video, they meet Booker T. Washington.
We're really sorry that you have to deal with segregation and racism.
Your sympathy is nice, Layla, but know that you have nothing to be sorry about. You and Leo have done nothing wrong, and have indeed been quite respectful. Future generations are never responsible for the sins of the past.
Okay.
They also have videos attacking climate change, state-run healthcare, and the Black Lives Matter movement. Some videos feature conservatives like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. And here is Layla and Leo with Ronald Reagan as he explains the value of tax cuts, a topic I'm sure grade school children are hungry to hear about.
It's really very simple, Leo. We used a program called Reaganomics to make our economy strong. We cut taxes so that the government took less of people's hard-earned money away from them, and that led to more people getting jobs.
No other state in the country allows these videos to be used in their classrooms. And let's note another issue that took place last week. DeSantis removed the elected state attorney from the Orlando area, Monique Worrell, who was the only black female prosecutor in the state. So with all of this happening, when the state's education commissioner pulls out of a town hall in the state's largest black majority city, it only heightens the anger and mistrust towards DeSantis. After Thursday's event, I asked Jones why he believes Manny Diaz decided not to show up.
I think that the governor told the commissioner that this probably is not a good idea, that you do this. And so I'm sure the governor's office told him no.
But, I mean, you have a personal relationship with Manny. Are you disappointed in him?
Yeah, absolutely. Period. I would have hoped that he learned that these people love their children, that they love their community, and that they're concerned about the direction that the education system is going in the state of Florida.
And where is it going?
It's not going in the right direction. Not when you're 49 in the state with reading proficiency. Not when you have over 3,000 teacher vacancies. You can't be going in the right direction. So we're not going in the right direction right now.
Well, why do you think that is? Why do you think we're going in that direction?
Because the governor has focused his energy on culture wars and not on how we can get our children proficient, how we can move our children along in math, how we can ensure that our teachers are respected, and how we can ensure that the schools that are in communities are well funded and that they have the resources to be able to teach those children. That's why we have totally moved our attention away from that and given dollars to individuals and things that does not feed back into our public school system.
Well, the governor says he's just empowering parents, that he's trying to get parents more involved, more into their kids' education, and so that's why he's taken the steps he has. Is he empowering parents?
Which parents?
Is that the question?
Yes, it is. It is the question, because it's clearly not the parents who were sitting here, because if he respected parental rights, he would have made sure that Manny Diaz came here today and showed respect to these black parents in the largest black city in the state of Florida, and show some type of respect to give them an answer. Because if you're bold enough to put the policies in place, you should be bold enough to stand and face these people. And so that's hypocritical at its best, what the governor is doing. He's saying he's talking about parental rights, but he's not talking about all parents. You're not talking about the black parent. You're not talking about the LGBTQ parent. You're not talking about the parent of immigrant children. You're not talking about those parents. You're talking about those who agree with you, those in Moms for Liberty and all these other groups who are creating havoc in our school districts, in our school board meetings, in our community meetings. It's a one-sided conversation that's happening.
There were some panelists tonight who flat out said that this governor is racist. Do you believe this governor is racist?
I've never had a conversation with the governor to be able to say that he's a racist, but I will say that his policies are racist, what the governor is doing is racist, and if it walks like a duck, and if it talks like a duck, then it must be a duck. Maya Angelou always say, when people show you who they really are, believe them.
This comes at the same time the state attorney for Orange and Osceola County was removed. You may know the fact that it's the only African-American woman prosecutor in the state that he decided to remove. Do I see linkage here? Do you see this as a pattern of behavior directed at the African-American community?
If it walked like a duck and it talked like a duck, it must be a duck. And what we see what Governor DeSantis is doing, if you're going to agree with what he is saying, what he does, he removes you. He did it to Andrew Warren. He just did it to Monique Worrell. He continues to do these type of things to individuals, removing them from office if they don't agree with him. That's just his MO. That is not the respect of democracy, and it's authoritarianism at its best.
Have you seen some of these PragerU University videos that they now say are eligible to be used in classrooms?
Yep, and I would suggest every parent who disagrees with that should make sure that their child opts out of watching that video. And I'll say it again. No parent should allow their children to see that PragerU video. They should make it clear, I am writing a letter that I do not want my child watching that. I know if I had children in school, they wouldn't be watching it.
You know, the governor says that he's for education, not indoctrination. Do you believe that?
The governor is the king of indoctrination. That's exactly what they've been doing. When you get videos like PragerU, that's indoctrination. When you're trying to remove books from out of the classroom and you're trying to replace them with things that are not true, that's indoctrination. Everything the Republicans are trying to put on the Democrats, that what they're doing, they are the ones who are the indoctrinators.
Towards what end?
I don't know how far they'll go to do it, but I'll tell you.
But what's the purpose? What's the idea? What's the goal behind indoctrinating them? Towards what end?
Because I mean, there is a changing of America that is happening. America does not look like it used to. There's a browning of America that exists. And so there's a group of people who want America to go back to how it was, what it looked like. So they believe that if we can try to whitewash history and try to alter what history is, then therefore I can make individuals think and say things that are definitely not true. But here's the thing. Young people are not stupid. Young people know exactly what's happening. That Google is at their fingertip, and every resource that they can have is at their fingertip. So I don't think, if they think, they are going to bamboozle children into believing this crap that they are trying to feed them. I think they have another thing coming. And I think we're going to see more rejection of this type of idiotic ideology that they are pushing from our young people. That's who will be the ones to save what we're seeing right now. Individuals, it's not going to be politicians. Politicians are not going to be the ones to bring the change that we're seeing right now. It's just not going to happen. People are.
Since he became Education Secretary, I've invited Manny Diaz to be a guest on this show many times. That invitation remains. He is welcome to come here anytime he wants. Now, when we come back, I talk to the chairman of the Republican Party of Florida. Stay with us. Welcome back. Christian Ziegler is the chair of the Republican Party of Florida, and I always appreciate having him on to share his views. I started by asking him for his reaction to the governor's decision to remove the elected state attorney in Orlando, Monique Worrell.
Yeah, look, this state attorney there, she was backed by George Soros, her campaign, and he went around the country and installed people into these state attorney positions. And then once they get in there, they stop prosecuting criminals and they let them run wild, and it makes the community less safe. And the governor has a duty and a responsibility to keep Floridians safe. And if he has to remove a state attorney for not doing their job, I'm all for that. I go to Orlando often. I want to make sure that I'm safe when I'm in Orlando. I want my family to be safe when we're in Orlando. So I think that action was a good one. It's been celebrated by a lot of people that are from that area. They have a lot of concerns with some of the criminals that have been let go that haven't been prosecuted. And I think it sends a message that if you're not going to do your job, there's going to be some accountability, which you actually never see in government.
Well, you refer to her as a George Soros installed prosecutor. The fact of the matter is she was an elected prosecutor by the people of Orlando and the surrounding area. Why should the people's will in electing her be overridden by the governor?
Well, when you have an activist in there as state attorney that's ignoring, prosecuting certain types of criminals, that's making the community more dangerous, the governor has a duty. And if he didn't remove her, people would be blaming him for not using every tool in his tool belt to keep Floridians safe. So I think the governor is doing that. That's what his focus was, and that's what his focus is. And that's why you saw that action be taken. And he's clearly showed that, and we saw this during COVID. I mean, this is nothing really new, that if a community is going to take away the freedoms of Floridians or put Floridians in harm's way, the governor will step in and take action if he has those actions that are available to his disposal.
Isn't that what elections are for? She's up for re-election next year. If she's doing a bad job, if she's endangering people in the Orlando area, shouldn't that be the province of the people in Orlando to then vote her out of office if she's not doing well?
Well, look, you have elections, but you also have the executive authority, and this is something that's clearly within his authority. And we saw him do it in Hillsborough County. Now we're seeing it in Orange County. So yes, there's elections, but then when you also have additional, authority where you can come in and impose that, I think that's all the governor's doing. And I think at the end of the day, the way that people look at this is not a process issue. It's more looking at it and saying, what's going to keep the community safe? We need to prosecute criminals and thugs that are out there breaking the law. And if someone's going to stand in the way and not do their job that they were elected to do, then I think at that point that there's cause for removal. Now, what's interesting is when you listen to the press conference with this failed Soros state attorney, I mean, her number one, the reason why she was upset she was removed is because she wasn't going to get a paycheck anymore. I mean, she said that from the podium. So really for her, it's more about personal benefit than serving the community. It's pretty clear. And I think that's why you saw the governor take that action.
Critics say that he tends to only go after Democrats. As you pointed out, the Hillsborough County prosecutor was a Democrat, Andrew Warren. Now here's another Democrat. The vast majority of people who he removed, and I should point out, for previous governors, they only would remove an elected official if they had been charged with committing a crime. Now the governor is just sort of removing people, particularly Democrats, because he disagrees with them. Is that really the way you want to have a state? Because it could work the other way. When there's a Democrat in the governor's mansion, do you want a Democrat to just start removing Republicans?
Well, look, I saw the list, and actually it's a spread of people that are Democrat, yes, but Republican, independent. So it's a spread of people that have had, accountability come from the governor's office. But I think Floridians are pretty clear with where the direction they want the state to go in. And again, when you have an elected official that is refusing to do their job, that is then putting Floridians at risk, I think the governor has a duty to take action. That's all we saw.
The governor, obviously, as we all know, won a huge victory here in Florida in 2022, 19 points. But he seems to be having trouble communicating that nationwide. And some of his critics will argue that moves such as the one with the Orlando state attorney are designed to sort of help change the narrative from his problems on his campaign. I know that you've remained neutral. You as a head of the Republican Party, you don't have any dog in the hunt in terms of who is the Republican nominee, whether it's Trump, DeSantis, Tim Scott, or whoever else. But I'm wondering why you think DeSantis' campaign is struggling as much as it is.
Well, look, I mean, as you mentioned, the Republican Party, we're going to stay neutral. I frankly am waiting for a nominee to be sent our way, and then we'll make sure they win the state of Florida in the general election. So that's what I'm focused on. Everyone has their different pieces of the pie. That's my piece that I need to make sure we deliver on. But the second part of this is running a national race is totally different than inside a state, obviously. More geography, other areas that people don't know you. It takes time to build up your name, but then you're also going against an individual with President Trump that he has a long history of support and his base is very strong that's behind him. So I think it's a challenge, but there's time, I guess, to bounce back, but that's going to be on the campaigns. I mean, again, I'll let them speak for themselves on what their strategy is or, why something's working or not working. I'm going to be laser focused on building the Republican Party because if President Trump's the nominee, we need all the DeSantis supporters behind him. If DeSantis was the nominee, we need all the Trump supporters behind him. Otherwise, we can't win the election. So we're going to be out there fighting to make sure we have the organization ready and that we're unified going in the general election. I have a good relationship with both men. I think Governor DeSantis has been an outstanding governor. I think President Trump was an outstanding president. It is, I will say, it's great from Florida's perspective to have two of the leading candidates coming from our state. I think it really highlights just how pro-freedom and conservative and the quality of politics that we have coming out of Florida.
You've segued nicely into one of the reasons why I did want to talk to you. 2 weeks ago, I had the head of the Democratic Party in the state of Florida, Nikki Fried, on. She was talking about her efforts. She's putting $1 million, she said, into a voter registration effort to try to regain some of the lost ground to the Republican Party. I guess I wanted to get, one, your reaction to what Nikki Fried is trying to do on the Democratic side, and then, but more importantly, what are Republicans currently doing when it comes to their voter registration efforts, and what do you see the path ahead?
Look, the Florida Democrat Party is a failed organization. They're fleecing their donors. They're throwing money at a problem that they're not going to be able to solve until they focus on the root of the problem. Last time, I'll tell you, last cycle, they committed $2 million towards this effort, towards voter registration. And instead of increasing their voter registration, I think they want to do like 500,000 or something. They actually lost 130,000 registered voters. So they threw 2 million, lost 130,000. Now they're pledging 1 million. But on the Republican side, we've seen our registration actually go from, we were down 4.5 years ago. There were 250,000 more Democrats in Florida than Republicans. In November of 21, for the first time in our state's history, we had more Republicans than Democrats in our state. And today we're at 543,000 more Republicans than Democrats in Florida. That's been an almost 800,000 registration swing towards the Republicans. We're headed in the right direction. Now, the Democrats, $1 million is not going to solve their problem. Their problem is their radical agenda that they're trying to sell to Floridians, that Floridians aren't just rejecting, they are fleeing from. And you were seeing this mass exodus from the Democrat Party where people are registering as sometimes as independents, and then eventually they become Republicans, or they're jumping right over to the Republican side, because this is not the Democrat Party of their grandparents, of JFK. They don't even recognize it. A lot of Democrats don't even recognize their party today with just how radical it has become. So until they address that, no money in the world is going to fix their registration problems.
I'm curious as to your take on Manny Diaz deciding not to come to South Florida to address the African-American community.
I can just go by what I saw in a couple tweets, and I think Senator Diaz, or Commissioner Diaz now, was pretty clear. We have the start of school today, so he's traveling around the state, trying to bounce into a couple of these districts and welcome kids back to school, which is an appropriate thing for the education commissioner to actually do.
Can you understand why folks in the black community, though, may feel disrespected, not just by what Commissioner Diaz did, but by other actions that they've seen, including what we talked about at the very beginning, the removal of the only African-American female state attorney in the state of Florida? Can you understand why they may feel as if this administration is against them?
That's a narrative pushed by the media and by the left. She was removed, and yes, she was African-American female. She was replaced with an African-American male. I mean, you know, no one's talking about the race on the back end of it because they're trying to generate a narrative that I don't think is an honest narrative. So I feel bad that he's not being recognized, but that's how the left works, is they want to generate a narrative. They're willing to selectively use race, mention it when it benefits them, they believe, in a political argument, and ignore it when it doesn't.
We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us. You can follow me on the app previously known as Twitter @DeFede, or email me at jdefede@cbs.com. I really do enjoy hearing from you. We'll be back again next week. Until then, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.